Hey, Martin, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing amazing, Michael. What about you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's good to be home. I mean, I was in Singapore for, it feels like 6 or 7 years. I was there for a month.
Because you did so many things.
I did do so many things, but I don't think I've ever been in a hotel for that long. But I did learn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's good to be doing another episode of eCommerce Undercover.
It is, definitely.
It's good to see you again, too. It's been a while.
Yeah, a lot of time, right?
And it's funny because when we started here, like, it wasn't in French, which is good because I was just trying to get my mindset, like, is this whole thing going to be in French again kind of thing?
No, not again, Michael. Not this episode. But I feel we can do this one in Spanish, right? Hablo español.
No, I don't speak Spanish either, but I know the question at least. You guys, I'm just going to leave. Anyway, who do we have with us today?
Today we have Emilio from Aument.
Aument. I love it. It's almost like augment without the G.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's on purpose. I don't know if that's on, it's exactly. So I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but it sounds like it might be. Emilio, how are you, by the way?
Great, great. How are you guys?
Great as well.
I mean, doing super. And where are you right now?
Now I'm in Miami,
So and where are you from originally?
Argentina.
So you're in Miami from Argentina, and the English lady who's muted is in Mexico City.
Yes, exactly. We are a not very common team, I think.
No, not really, but at least like you're all in three sort of Spanish-speaking places: Miami,
Yes,
Argentina, and Mexico City.
100%. Yeah. I like to say that I am living in the capital of Latin America.
Yeah, Miami for sure. I've never been there, but yeah, it feels like it should be, right? The capital of Latin America. That's so good.
Yeah, now it's changing a little bit because Miami is growing a lot because of different situations. But a lot of people from New York and California are coming to Miami, so it's like a tech boom around here.
Is it
And
really?
also, yeah. It's and that's because also the prices here are getting every day higher. But yeah, Miami, I think it's a good place to be.
Is there something going on in Miami that's purposeful? In other words, like in Bangkok, they're trying to get startups to be here. You know, obviously, you know what's happening in Silicon Valley. In Chiang Mai is like digital nomads. But is there something happening in Miami that's encouraging people to be there, or is it just growing organically? You know what I mean?
No, definitely there's a combination of things. In one side, you have taxes benefits here
Right.
versus other states like New York or California. Also, you have the boom started with the pandemic. Like a lot of people prefer to work from their homes in front of a beach.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
I think that is another thing. And yeah, I think that those two things are the most important things. And because of that, a lot of VCs came to Miami to start new offices here. And that's mainly the reason why then startups are coming also to Miami.
It's super interesting, and I feel like it's kind of weird that like the only American dude on the call is asking a guy who's not from the United States what's happening in Miami, and I've never been there either. But it's kind of cool that it's growing up organically, right? Because that means it's probably going to last, right? If there was some purposeful thing. And am I correct that Florida is still a no income tax state, right? So probably
Yeah,
no corporate tax as well, yeah, kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah. So a lot of big tech companies are coming here, and a lot of big D2C companies also, like Open Store, like a lot of Rollups are holding headquarters, are bringing their headquarters to Miami. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting. But you can see what's happening in the world, right? And this is actually super interesting. People are going from coast to coast. They want to be near a beach. They want to be in a place where like the environment is good, not just for their business life, right, but for their personal lives as well. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
For sure, right. That's kind of a reason why we are in Thailand, right? Because we can do both.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, Martin, I said I just got back from Singapore, right? But when I was there, one of the conversations I had often with people was like, you know, why do you live in Thailand? And I would explain to them like what my life was like, right? Just from a business perspective, yeah? And just how I got to live and what the cost structure was like. And it just doesn't make any sense in the context of what's going on. Like there's amazing business there, amazing finance in Singapore. And obviously the government does some incredible things there too. But if you can travel in a world where there's no travel restriction, living in Bangkok is super beneficial. Anyway,
Yeah.
so do you live in Miami or are you just there on business?
Yeah. I'm now in business, but I'm moving permanently if things go well next month.
So where did you found Aument? Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, a lot of people think that is that is Almond here, like the how do you
No, no,
say?
no, 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 no.
No, you don't think so?
Almond, is
um,
that how? That's not how you pronounce it. Aument, yeah.
Aument. Yeah, I think that I need to. Yeah. So what was the question again? Why or when?
No, no. So did you found it in the United States? Did you found it in
Yes.
Argentina like you did?
Yeah, in the United States, we are headquarters here in Miami, and
Okay, great.
around 52% of our merchants are from the US.
Okay, well, what does Aument do? Like, is it a play on augment? Do you know what I mean? Is it a play on words?
Yeah, yeah. At some point, yeah, because basically, Aument, we are building Aument to help small e-commerce brands get new sales easily across multiple channels, from social media and more traditional ones like email and SMS. So basically, the world is Aument came from augmentation and automation, a little bit with segmentation too, because this is what we know, what we are the best at. But yeah, like those two words, automation, augment, segmentation. To that's how we became to the name of Aument.
But what's your business background, right? In other words, why did you think about starting this? What happened to you, or what's been happening to you in your business career that said to you, "Oh, you know all this stuff, and you should start this company"?
Yeah, so there are two sides of the story. I think that me personally, as an online buyer, and me and my co-founders in our professional backgrounds. So, as an online buyer, and maybe you feel part of that too, I felt that brands were sending me tons of spam, not only through email, through SMS, in LATAM through WhatsApp, but also ads everywhere that were irrelevant to me. And because of my background and the background of my co-founders, that we work in working growth for different companies, mainly multinationals. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more now. We realize that there is a lot of money that maybe big brands can spend and test and test and test and try different things without running out of business. And we said, hey, what about small brands? Like, they cannot be playing with their money and trying to do everything and try to reach everyone. Like, that's very tough. And we decided to start Aument because we saw this gap about an increasing gap between the big brands with big teams, big budget, and the small brands that were not that have no bandwidth to really take advantage of their data, of the channels that they have chances to use. So that's mainly the reason.
And what were you and your co-founders doing before? In other words, were you working for big brands, or did you try to start your own online stores? Like, how did you figure this out, right?
Yeah. So, well, one of my co-founders, we worked together. We were the growth marketing team of WeWork for Latin America. So we have a big background on performance marketing. Also, one of my co-founders is the ex e-commerce manager Faridas, also for LATAM. And then so our CTO and our CPO worked for different fintechs, so they have a lot of knowledge about product. And myself, I came more from the big brands world. Like, I was brand manager of Corona and Stella Artois for Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay. Before that, in WeWork, I was after Corona, I was in charge of partnerships. So yeah, like, branding and performance is our big background.
What was it like working at WeWork?
That I know that question is going to come. Yeah, like, I think at a roller coaster. I think that we lived like, I don't know how to say it in English, but like the like a super massive growth of sales and marketing spend and
That's
from
kind of what I want to know. Like, what is it like being in a hyper growth and hyper sales environment, right? That's the thing I'm really curious about. We work or not we work, I kind of don't care, but I'm curious
yeah,
about what that environment is like, because I don't think most people have ever experienced it. What does that feel like?
it's crazy. Like, you live every day as a founder. I think we really felt that we were part of the funding team at WeWork, and we worked for that, and we were working 24/7 to make the company grow. We did it, maybe not so healthy in terms of financials for the company, but yeah, like our job, we did a great job. Like we imagine that 98% our buildings in LATAM were with 98% of occupation. Most of them came from digital marketing efforts that my team did. So yeah, like it's amazing.
But so were you part of the launch team in Latin America? So did you feel like, in a way, because you already said like you felt product ownership there, you almost felt like a founder. I'm just trying to translate that into that feeling of then leaving that pace, right? And then going out and saying, hey, let's do it again, but now let's really be founders. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a kind of a different thing. What was that like?
Yeah, well, I think that it was a little bit more tough for my co-founders who jumped from the companies they were. I left WeWork at the end of 2019, and
Okay.
after that, I tried to start some failed businesses.
Good for you.
So yeah. Very fun, but very tough. During the pandemic, without job, trying to survive, but it was a great experience. And then I started talking with my co-founder and say, hey, it's a great moment to be. Like Argentina has an exceptional comparative advantage because it's very, very cheap to live there and to build software from there to the world. So it was, hey, like we can live without earning zero money sometimes, some months, maybe years living in Argentina. Why don't we start? It's the moment. So yeah, it's a totally different experience, yeah, for sure. Being a real founder rather than an employee, but it's great.
Was it hard for your co-founders to leave like bigger companies and bigger jobs? Do you know what I mean? Because like for you, like you said, you like jump off of one rocket ship onto another rocket ship. It's kind of the same thing, but for them, it's like, how do I tell
Yeah.
my mom I'm leaving my job at Diageo or something, and I'm going to go
Oh,
work with Emilio?
yeah. Like who the hell is Emilio? Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
Emilio?
So
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I think that was very, very tough for them. In case of WeWork, it was not so hard because WeWork was not in a very good moment at that moment. But for example, our CTO, he was working for a cybersecurity company that was growing a lot. It wasn't like a Series B, I think, startup, but it was growing a lot. He was earning ton of dollars like every good developer in the world and living in Argentina. Like you can live in Argentina with $1,500. You can live very, very well in Argentina, like
And
very
he was
well.
making $15,000, so he
Yeah,
was living like
probably. Yeah,
king.
yeah, exactly. And I came to him with a friend we had in common and was like, hey, why don't you leave? What? Like, why? It doesn't make sense. And it's funny because it was like when you want to date with someone, like it was really a date for me. Like I called him, I texted him, made a lot of Zooms. I was trying to convince him. I was showing the huge market opportunity that was here, the problem that we will be able to solve. And it was like, I invited him to have dinner. I talked with his girlfriend. It was like a process of 2 months of, and this guy is amazing, very good engineer. And from one day to another, he became crazy and say, Emi, can we talk? Yes. I'm in. And it was like, oh shit, I can't believe it. And I thought, I remember that 1 second after that, I imagined, oh, his girlfriend is gonna kill me. Like his girlfriend is gonna kill me. But well, let's see that after that.
So how did you explain to him how big this opportunity was, right? Because something you said must have convinced him. He was making a ton of money. He's living a good life. And you're right. It is like a date in a way, right? You've got to convince somebody that, leave your current thing and come out on a dinner date with me, because when you're done with this dinner, it's going to change the way you think about life. And that's basically what you did over a 2-month period of time. But what was it that changed his mind? How big is this thing?
Yeah, so I think that the first step was talking about the mission, that is basically giving the opportunity to a lot of small brands get access to profitable customers that maybe big brands do.
Yeah.
And because when you hear that new brands in Shopify that do not make their first sale in their first 40 days of life, they will run out of business. You realize, oh shit, there are a lot of companies and new brands that cannot survive because they don't know how to market their store. That was like the most like a mission part of hey, we can make a lot of people start their business, like helping them with the marketing side, getting new customers. Like this is a unique opportunity, and the market is huge. I mean, there are more than 8 million active stores in the world, including Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, Magento, and all the big ones and small ones too. So the problem is huge, and the complexity to get customers across different channels is getting even harder every year because of different situations. So yeah, like let's help a thousand of people to start and run their business better.
So what is the way to use technology to allow smaller brands to be able to compete with bigger brands, right? Because a big brand, like you said, like Adidas, Nike, Walmart, all these gigantic companies can just throw a ton of money at 5 different agencies and kind of get some kind of impact that they want, right? Some kind of outcome. But if I've got a better product, right? We talk about this a lot. It's like, how do you not eliminate because you can't do it, but how do you minimize the noise around the product and create signals so that people can buy? How does tech help facilitate that? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do these smaller merchants need to know how to do this better?
Yes, it's an amazing question. I think that the big resume of that is, and it's how we see success. So the only way to succeed for a brand is to show their products to high intent audiences, right? To put their product in front
the high intent
of high
audiences.
intent audiences. Yeah. So that's a topic that sounds like very, very far from a merchant perspective, in terms of, hey, like, what do I do to achieve that? Like, right? Like, so Facebook is getting much more difficult to get to those audiences. TikTok is very expensive, or whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. So at the end, I think that there's a learning phase for the merchant that has to do with, hey, you need to have access to all these communication channels, but it's not also only about marketing, it's also about unit economics. So it's easy to say, like, there's money getting in on the business and it's money getting out. So if the money getting into the business has a very, very poor cost, a very low average order value, and your unit economics are poor, and you are acquiring customers at a very high price, then you're probably, even if you have a great branding, a great product, you will not survive. So I think that technology and what we are building is basically with the aim to put the product of these small brands in front of high intent audiences, no matter the channel.
Yeah. So actually, one of my, you'll find this actually really interesting, right? So my brother's wife's sister's husband started a company called it's true. He started a company called Intent Media. And the whole point of Intent Media was to go out and find these intentional audiences and to try to find out what they had an intention to do. And his whole thesis, he started it in the travel business because I think he was one of the founders of a company called like 57 Travel. I can't remember, but it was something that got bought by Travelocity or something like this years ago. Mm-hmm. But what they figured out was you could actually put ads on your competitor's site because they're going to go to them anyway to try to do some kind of price comparison. Now, in the e-commerce business and the way you do it, right, with smaller brands, it's slightly different. But this idea of intention is actually really important, yeah? How do you, as a team, not just measure it, but like understand who has an intention and who doesn't and what they're intending to do? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a great question. So basically, so I think that a customer becomes a high intent, a potential customer becomes part of a high intent audience is when they have their credit card looking at the page. So that's like the most figure, like, that's if you have the credit card here and you're looking for your product and you're looking for the product of this brand, yeah, you are basically a high intent audience. So at some point you need to try to learn how to identify those customers and how to reach them, like through which channel and which is the best moment to do that, and also not only through which channel or at which moment, but also with the content, right? And that's another chapter. Like if you are irrelevant for this type of high intent audiences, probably they will not become they will not come to buy your product. So I think that it's how we develop our core product. Like it's part of receiving the good data, identifying the correct segments, and then try to figure out what are the best options to reach those customers.
But where do you get the data from, right? Because to me, this is a massive data and data analysis problem. And we can spend a lot of time actually talking about data, right? Because you can have all this data, but we talked before about, minimizing noise and finding signals, right? So inside of that data, you've got to clean the data and make sure that it's relevant to the thing that you're trying to sell. But how do you build out this sort of ML ops, right? This machine learning ops to then be able to process all this data, some of which is happening in real time, to then be able to create this idea that, yeah, actually that lady is an intentional buyer and she wants to buy some training shoes and you have the best possible training shoes for her to buy. Like, how do you do that? It's so hard, right?
Yeah, like it's very hard. You need to build these machine learning models. You need to have a lot of track in terms of analyzing and data and from multiple data sources. We started very few months ago. So we are just starting with a Shopify integration. So we can do intelligence and build segmentations from that because we are receiving behavioral and transactional data. But of course, in order to grow that intelligence, you need to receive data from other partners and try to, So there are a lot of things that you can do to start identifying these customers and trying to see where to reach them. But it's not only about transactional and behavioral data in the merchant store, but also there are some other options that you can do. Of course, being in compliance with the consents and the legal rules that the government expect to us to do. So there are a lot of ways, not only with this data that maybe a partner or Shopify, for example, can bring to you, but also there are other options to understand about the customers that is even more simple things. Like if you have the chance to ask a potential customer what do they want and when they want to be reached, then you have a lot of data that you can bring to the model.
And do you partner with Shopify to get, can you get access to that data, or do you have to negotiate on a one-on-one basis with every one of these merchants? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a one-on-one negotiation. Yeah. So basically you cannot, and it's okay because you cannot access to data from a merchant without the consent of that merchant and the consent of the customers of those merchants, So it's a one-on-one.
Yeah, actually, that gives me a thought. Have you seen that Shopify launched Shopify Audiences to their Shopify Plus customers? And basically what they do is that they share the data across all the stores to help, like for example, somebody who sells jewelry, they are going to aggregate the data for all the jewelry store using Shopify. And then they can tell you okay, these kind of customers are better and you should do your marketing like this and stuff like that. So they are kind of aggregating and sharing the data of all the stores, customers as well, including your competitor. So this is kind of the tricky part. So how do you, maybe differentiate with that or work with that? I don't know.
Yeah, so I think that the algorithm that Shopify is building around high intent audiences is going to become even better through every month and the years coming. I think that it's a great idea. It has a lot of sense. I don't think we will never compete with them because I think that we are going to partner with Shopify Audiences at some point, because at least our job is to make our merchants' life easier with these different acquisition techniques. So if we have access to these audiences as partners from Shopify, definitely we are going to be able to offer a better product to our merchants.
And to a certain extent, if you can partner with Shopify Audiences, right, then you can have all this aggregated data that you may not have access to otherwise if you have to go on a one-on-one basis to every one of the merchants. And to be fair, if you can build a better analysis tool or really understand its scale, right, like how to build this intentional audience, sure. I mean, in the same way, it's just like what Shogun did in the page building thing.
Yep.
No? Yeah. So again, like Shopify tried to do this page building thing, which was terrible, and now Shogun's worth $750 million or $1 billion.
Well,
right?
most of the money comes from Shopify, so.
Yeah, but fair enough. I don't care like who invests in it, but still, like the fact that Shopify could invest in Aument.
For sure. Yeah,
right?
that's definitely possible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
at the end, is
go ahead.
if you can help the merchant make more money, everyone is
Yeah,
happy.
they don't care. Yeah, and they don't care how they don't care how it happens as long as it's legal, right, and it doesn't violate any data privacy issues.
Yeah, and actually that's a very good point that you bring up. Like, how does that work in Europe with GDPR? Because in Europe we are more going towards cookieless and no tracking and all of that. And so us on the tech side for e-commerce, we are really building stuff that are allowing each store owners to do the tracking and get the data and then feed, like for example, Google Analytics or Facebook with data that they can't really identify who was on your store and stuff like that. So this is more the way that tracking is going in Europe. So do you have some views about that? Like, did you check, or it's not your market yet and you focus on the US?
Yeah, so we want to build a product ready to be used for every company in the world, and for that we need to be from scratch in compliance with the rules that governments are working on. I think that it's important. The privacy for the end customer is very important, and also at the same time, it's very important, and me also as a customer, to receive the opportunities to buy products that I like, So I think that it's a huge challenge for even small brands, because at the end, what is happening because of these restrictions in privacy policies is that the costs of acquiring customers is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, and it's what we talked about before with Michael, like maybe big brands don't care about, they're going to figure it out. Like, you can talk to anyone. Maybe it's going to be relevant to someone. But for small brands, these privacy policies that I think that are great, and people deserve to have privacy, need to help us to help us, the tech developers, to be creative on really how to help these small brands, and also be in compliance with the privacy policies. So I think that it's like, if cookies are going to are going to disappear, and Apple is going to be even more restricted every year, I think. So it's part of us to be more creative and to be able to ask for consent as more as we can to every customer we have, so we have more opportunities to reach them in compliance with the privacy policies.
Yeah, and to be fair, the harder it gets, the more it means that other people aren't going to try to do this, right? So that just means that there are fewer participants, and fewer competitors. So fair enough, right? I never mind when stuff gets hard. We talk about it a lot, right? Because the harder it gets, more people just are like, oh boy, it's way too hard. Let Emilio do it.
Exactly.
For sure.
Let Emmy do it. You must talk to just a bucket load of these e-commerce sellers, yeah? What are you learning from them, though? Do you know what I mean? Because you're not in it every day. They're in it every day. What are they telling you that they need? And then do you have the sort of ability to then go out and build that product for them? Because this is one of the other things. I don't want to say anything bad about big companies like Shopify, but like the customer service there is let's just say it's challenging, right? So if you can get on the phone with your potential clients and work with them to build the stuff that they need directly, it's got to be way more impactful. What are they telling you they need?
Yeah, that's a great question. There is a learning phase that is very interesting here. That is about how to not only use the tech stack that is available, but also really understand how to put their products in front of these people, right? So
Right.
there is a big challenging about learning and explaining and helping these customers to think in a 360 way as a company, not just as a hobby small brand who wants to start selling something. But also, I think with technology, I like to say I like to give. I will answer you with an example. Let's say, do you know Canva, the design tool?
Canva, like the editing tools, right?
Yeah, Canva, the
Canva.
design tool
Sorry,
from
yeah.
Australia. Yeah, I do.
So basically, I think
Did you just make fun of my American accent? You
Canva.
did,
No,
didn't you?
no.
I saw you change it. You were like, "Oh, let me talk like a silly person, like an American." And then I fixed it. No, it's
I
good.
have the problem. I need to improve my English.
No. You sound awesome. I sound like an idiot. Go ahead. I love it.
So I think that before Canva existed, the only way to design beautiful things was to hire a designer, right?
Yeah.
After Canva came to the market, it gave us the possibility to non-designers to build and design beautiful creatives, right? And before that was impossible, right? And now it's possible. I think that there is a huge opportunity for the same things in terms of getting new customers across social media, email, and SMS with like a Canva, but for the marketing automation world, and yeah.
I'm just gonna say, so you've nailed this, and I want to tell you why, right? And I don't know if Aument is gonna succeed or not, but here's what I know about business and what's happening in the tech world. And again, stop me when you feel like I have this wrong. But if every business is made up of, let's just say, 15 or 20 functions, right? Some of which are unique to your company, not yours, but to a particular company, right? Like I can't make Coca-Cola as well as Coca-Cola makes it, right? They have that thing. But they do need to do marketing. And to be fair, you may be able to abstract out the marketing part of it so that Coca-Cola can then not outsource it, but use an outside company to do it. And they can do that in the human resources space. They can do it in the back-end accounting space. That's why Xero is so effective, right? Because what they've done is they said, you don't want to do accounting. We can do it. And because we can do it at scale for Coca-Cola, for Disney, for everybody, it can be way less expensive because we build the infrastructure and you just piggyback on the infrastructure using an API, right? This is why Mac is so important. And I think you've probably found a thing that can be abstracted. And that abstraction is taking away the marketing and the online sort of connectivity to clients and understanding how that data gets worked. And if you can build that abstraction layer, then every business should be able to use yours. And to be fair, at some level, even big brands can use it because then you can build things that they can't. And that's why the opportunity is so big. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%, Michael. I am totally aligned with that. And I think that, so the big challenge here is to build the product, to really build the Canva of the marketing automation world and give a real possibility to these small brands to earn, to get new profitable customers easily across multiple channels. But the opportunity is there because there is so much complexity every year that the opportunity is there. It's like we can touch it, I think.
But again, this ability to abstract it away means that then a company can focus on going out and getting the best products. And if they can go out and get the best products, then they have to worry less and spend less on that marketing side of their business because it's kind of getting taken care of. In other words, if in a universe of, let's say, one gigantic FMCG company, and 9 small brands, let's just say that's the only thing that exists in the world. And that one big FMCG company goes, we're going to spend a fortune on marketing. We're going to build our own data infrastructure. We're going to understand all of this down to the last consumer. That's okay. But the 9 small brands can't, right? But given the right technology and the right abstraction, they can plug into you and do the same thing that big FMCG brand can do. And that's the difference. And that's why if you find that thing to abstract out, that then they can go and do that because they can't do it without you because they'll never be able to match the data infrastructure, the ML ops infrastructure as that big FMCG brand, but you can, because you can spread the cost out over not just 9, but like 9 million. And that big FMCG brand has to do it all by itself. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah. And that's something that we want to speed on in our product roadmap, that is like building a core infrastructure for Aument and an open API to give a lot of brands, not only from the Shopify ecosystem, but also a lot of brands that are coming to us that we cannot support yet. So yeah, definitely.
What does it look like for a merchant? In other words, let's say I agree that I'm going to use the Aument product. When I wake up on day one, what am I doing differently? And what does it look like to me? And then what kind of response am I getting from Aument? And what do I know when I'm done using it so that then I can go out and sell better? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. So basically, as the product is now, we have only 2 available channels that are email and SMS. Basically, we give them all the possibility. We take all the effort of building the customer segmentations and flows, but with technology. It's not like the merchants do not need to build the flows manually, like maybe they need to do with other tools, or maybe build the segmentations. So basically, a merchant once can set up a lot of marketing automation flows for email and SMS, and then we have the attribution models already built for all of these marketing for these email and SMS flows to show the merchants how much money they are getting into the business. And also they have the possibility to build campaigns of multiple touches, but with a super easy way to do it. Like you don't need to be an SMS expert or an email expert in order to build hyper personalized marketing campaigns, you know.
And what if I'm using something like Mailchimp or some service like that? Do you integrate with that too, so that my email that I'm already doing is already working, or do I need to do something different? And is my connectivity to you as a merchant via an API, or do I have to do some kind of integration?
Yeah, so now, as we are only integrated with Shopify, merchants can access Aument through the App Store, for example, and install the app. So it's very, very easy. It's a couple of clicks.
Yep.
We are not yet integrated with a Mailchimp, for example, or Klaviyo. In fact, we have our own ESP inside of Aument, also with SMS.
That's what I want to know.
Because that's a great question, and it's something that we talked about with my co-founders. That is, it's great to have integrations, but if there's a point, if your core business is to send communications or relevant communications, you cannot ask the merchant who has no bandwidth and no time to take a lot of marketing stack from everywhere and try to use everything at the time. Of course, it's impossible to be the best at everything, you know. So that's why it's so hard to build product, and that's why we need to prioritize and see what's next.
It is. But to be fair, you're right? In other words, if I want to bake a cake, right? If I'm a restaurant and I want to bake a cake, I don't have to have the best oven in the world, but I need an oven. Do you know what I mean? And I need to have the ingredients in my kitchen to be able to do it. And even if it's not the best oven, I don't want to be able to have to go down the street after I've made the cake and then bake it and then take it out and bring it back to my restaurant. It's just too complicated. You don't want to build complexity into the product. You want to take it out.
Exactly. Yeah? And one of the things that why in case of email, we think that it's okay for us to build, to have this in our product is because one of our investors is Isaac Saldana, the founder of SendGrid. And what I was saying to his team it's an amazing VC that's called HiveHatch, is that spam exists in the world because of them and the Mailchimp guys. Like they built so good infrastructure that every email gets into the primary email. Yeah. But that's not fair. It's not fair for brands because they need to send a lot of emails and spend a lot of money, and it's not fair for the consumer because they receive a lot of things that are not interested for them. So
yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
So are you using the SendGrid infrastructure, or are you building your own?
That's the funny part. No, we are not using a SendGrid infrastructure yet.
I was going to ask the same thing. Yet. But here's the other thing I want to know. Like if you go and you look at the stock prices, right, for some of your big e-commerce providers from like, I'm going to pick a date, March of 2020 until March of 2022, they all like skyrocketed because everybody was stuck in their house and everybody had to go shopping online, even if they wanted to go to a store. But particularly in like big Western countries like the United States and all over Europe, you go out now and nobody's wearing a mask and you say COVID and people are like, I had a cousin named COVID, but he seems to be fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like everything seems to be okay. But did we have a sustainable, I'm really curious about this, right? Do we have a sustainable growth in e-commerce or did we have a spike because people were stuck at home? It's probably somewhere in the middle. But what's the impact on big companies like that and all the stuff that you do as well? Do you know what I mean? Because if you not you, but if one planned on, 20, 30% month over month or year over year growth ad infinitum, right? Because COVID was going to keep people home. Well, when that goes away, what's the impact, you think?
Yeah, so I think that the big impact was from the consumer side in terms of giving the scenario of that buying digital things, it's okay, but at some point people need to go also to meet in real life with the products they want. So I think that of course the pandemic accelerated the growth, the expected growth for e-commerce in these years. I don't think that the trend of the growth trend will decrease from the growing trend that was before the pandemic. So maybe it was like it was a peak, but it will keep growing because it's about
fair enough.
It's I think that there is not an unlimited online. I mean there's no we will never have 100% online sales and no more physical sales. So I think that the trend is going to grow for online brands, and as there are more people consuming, as there are more young people that are more used to buy online, the trends is going to grow. I think that the pandemic just accelerated it in those years.
So you talked, I don't know if we started recording or before we were recording, but you threw out this word called Rollups, right? And you said that a lot of them are moving their headquarters into Miami. And I have to ask about this, right? If you look at some of these big funded companies that are rolling up Shopify brands or Amazon brands or whatever, is there an impact on that? Is there an impact on you as well from that? Do you know what I mean? In other words, if I'm Thrasio and I go out and I pay, 4 times earnings for every good online seller, am I then going out and stopping some of the data stuff that you're doing, or are they then going out and doing more of it? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you see that as a good thing for you, a bad thing for you? How does that ecosystem look to you?
For us, it looks very interesting because I see we don't have Rollups as customers yet, but I think that at some point they're gonna be great partners for us because their business model is to buy something and have and boost these brands to other level because of their
That's why I asked, right? Because they're gonna need what you do. It seems like to me because it's a great way for them to get efficiency across a bunch of different businesses.
Yeah, 100%. Like we don't have that part developed yet, but I think that we can really help Rollups to boost the sales of their brands and to consolidate a lot of the marketing efforts they are doing for other brands on the same platform. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Interesting. Are you concerned? If this had been 10 or 15 years ago, I wouldn't have even asked about this. I just would have made an assumption about the macroeconomic situation and just figured, well, it's cyclical. We have recessions, we have growth stages and stuff like that. But I think the way that businesses perceive them now are different. Like, I don't want to say care about, because I'm sure you do, but are you concerned at scale about, what's the right word, like economic cyclicality? Or are you just building into a long-term trend? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so we are building in a long-term trend, definitely. That's what you asked, like if we are building something No.
Like, are you worried if there's a recession? I hear all this commentary about recession, inflation, all these other things. And to me, like, I care because it hurts individual people and I don't want anyone to get hurt. I want people to live a great life. But it's like if everybody died every time there was a recession, there'd be no humans on the planet, right? Like I don't want to be insensitive about it, but I'm just saying like the world is cyclical. If we're in a recession now, yeah, it's hard. I've been through some super hard ones, right? And they're very painful. But if you're building a company for the long term, you got to build through that, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yep.
are you worried about it, or are you just building through
Yeah,
it?
so no, we're building through it. We are focused on solving a problem, and the problem will keep happening in a recession or in a hyper growth economic scenario. So for us, we have our focus in our product, in talking to users and build our product. Um, that's from the Aument perspective. So of course, it's the recessions are tough for a lot of people. There are a lot of layoffs. It's really tough, and even for our customers, it's hard because
Yeah.
small brands who have no unit economics, who have no healthy unit economics, maybe will not survive. And if the costs of acquiring customers is increasing, and there is inflation, and the supply chain is getting very, very complex. So yeah, of course, maybe we can be hit with a recession too. So it's like these kind of situations inspire us to build more. Like we want to build faster to help these people as soon as we can, you know?
Right. Yeah. So before we let you go, right, what do you see the long-term growth of Aument looking like? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how big is this going to get, and what other types of products and services can you build into it? You can't just be like a one product company. It doesn't work, right?
Well, so basically, I like to say this easy sentence about we want to help small brands get new sales easily, right? So we started with marketing,
Yep.
like building different communication channels, building different models to segment better, to build better segmentations. Like we have a lot to do there, but at some point, marketing is not the only way to help merchants get new sales easily, you know?
Yeah.
So there is a point that to finance ads, for example, or inventory, you need cash, of course. So we are developing so much intelligence in terms of customer, in terms of predict how the customers of each brand have opportunities to come back to buy. Like I think that we are building better intelligence that maybe a fintech has about their merchants. So at some point, if we execute well and we have a great network of brands, there is a huge opportunity also to help them not only with optimization and profitable customers, but also with the money they will need to really boost those channels, you know?
Yeah, now you're talking my language. Okay.
What?
Yeah, because no, the reason why I ask, right, is because I just want to understand how you're going to use all this data and this intelligence that you're gathering, right? In other words, if you're just using it for the merchants, that's neat. But if you're using it for yourself to then go back and help the merchants, like I think there's a massive opportunity, and Martin and I talk about this all the time. I think there's a massive opportunity for some company who's helping merchants build, who's helping them grow, who's helping them have better interactions with their customers, who's helping small brands do this. At some point, you know who the winners and losers are going to be. So you could potentially invest in those brands, first of all. But second of all, you could create your own bespoke marketplace. You know, just call it like bestbrands.com. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. Do you know what I mean? For the places where there's real hyper growth, again, to eliminate all of the noise around the other brands that aren't growing and just focus on the ones that have the best products, so that people don't have to go through this search and destroy problem to find the stuff they love.
Yeah, well,
We talked about that.
that's very powerful, and it's like the audience is like an audience is marketplace. You know, people interested in some kind of products, and they have access to those products that they only care about, giving the access to brands. Yeah, it sounds like an Amazon at the same point, but yeah, like in terms of audiences, it's different.
It doesn't that right? Because you mentioned this word, and I'm so happy you brought it up at the beginning, this idea of intention, right? To be intentional. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to go to personalized and customized products, well, if you have the best growing products and you have the market intelligence and you have the data, what's to stop these small brands from saying to their clients on an individual basis, we have the ability to make any product you want. You trust us to build great products and find great products. What do you want? Like just going out and asking. You know, you mentioned dating before, right? At some point you can just say, before you ask, or when you ask somebody out on a date, French food or Italian food, which one do you want, so I don't have to guess? Because that's how you know the date's going to be better. And you have that intelligence once you know, nobody likes French food, by the way, but once you know that they like Italian food, that's just a joke. But you know what I mean? Like once you know, then you're not going to go to a French restaurant because it's a waste kind of thing. But you'll have that data.
Exactly.
And your merchants will too, so you should be able to do a whole bunch of other stuff with it. That's all I was asking.
Yeah, and that's a very, very interesting stuff because if you have the ability to ask people what they want to buy, what they really like to see, if they want to, I mean, if you are a lover of some kind of product and you want to receive different opportunities to buy that product at different point of your time of the year, then
yeah,
it's okay. If you give me that information to me with your consent, I can talk with a lot of my brands or the brands that I know have. Hey, do you sell this glass that I have here? I have a lot of people that are interested in buying these kind of glasses. Are interested in putting your product in front of them? Yes, they are going to be okay with that because that's what they want.
And everybody wins. I mean, look, I was out yesterday at a shopping mall looking for something very specific, and I couldn't find it. I went to Adidas, I went to Puma, I went to Nike, I went to everybody, and I could not find it, and I was so mad.
So it was not for a camera grid.
Yeah, Martin always gets worried when I want to buy a new microphone. And actually, before we started recording, I found 2 new microphones in this office, and I didn't tell him about it. Anyway, anything else? This has been a killer conversation.
Yeah, definitely, super good.
Okay, so can we thank him?
Yeah, thank you very much, Emilio. That was awesome to learn more about what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for just like being so open and honest with this. It was super, and I learned a ton. Hopefully you had a good time. I had a blast, and we got to make fun of Martin a little bit, so that it all works out.
Thanks to you for inviting me. It's a really great opportunity for me to learn from guys like you that are working with the e-commerce ecosystem too. So very, very grateful about that. And also I hope to visit Bangkok someday soon and grab a beer with
Please
you guys.
Come.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on eCommerce UnderCover.
Okay, bye-bye.
That was awesome.
Have a nice week.